Okay, here I am. Here I am. I just got everything hopefully working, so I'm hoping that you guys will be able to see me and hear me. So if someone comes on, just tell me that you can see me or hear me. Let's see here. Okay, there's one person on. Can you please tell me if you can see me or hear me? Because I had to start a whole new thing. There we go. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, great. Phew, great. Now, I have no idea what the link to this video is because let me see if I can figure it out. Oh, wait, there it is. I'm just gonna put it out before I get started because now there's a new link. Okay. So I got that. And just give me a minute, you guys, and I really appreciate it. Okay, got that. And let me just put it out there. And maybe I'll put it out on Twitter too, because why not? Why not do that? So I apologize for the late start. It ended up being something that would have been easy to fix, so I'm sorry I had to start over. Hold on one sec here. Okay. There we go. Uh, okay. And, hopefully this works. Okay, let's get started again. What was I saying? Um, all right, there we go. All right, so hello everyone. Thank you so much for rejoining me back here. And I'm just really delighted to be with you today. Divine timing. Yeah, I agree. It's divine timing, isn't it? Okay. It's 7:14 Pacific time. So here's what I thought we'd do today. I thought that we could have the meditation that I've been doing. Today is feels like a day of high anxiety to me, and I think it's a perfect day to do the meditation. It's also 4/4, April 4th. So it's a gateway of sorts or a um, powerful new number date. And today, the meditation that I thought we'd focus on is first to calm ourselves in these energies. And that's not suppressive. Calming is about bringing out the true self. Okay. So this is an important concept that calm is not about pushing down. It's not about suppression. Like when you think about a fire, right? If you were to calm the fire, you would diminish it or put it out. But the light of the flame of the soul within the heart burns bright and gives us the ultimate feeling of calm and peace. And so what we wanna do is ignite that within the heart. And this does 2 things. First, it burns off anxiety, and second, it provides calm. But before that, before burning off anxiety, before igniting calm, what it does is it initiates the divine flow within in a conscious way. We consciously intend that connection with God, with our own soul, with divinity, with the living flame of the creator that you are, right? That enlivens the physical human form and then pours into the body, is the body as well at its most basic levels, and then burns brightly as the human life and lives as the spirit that, is the words through our speech, is the thoughts through our head. And when you start to think about it that way, you start to think, do I really want to say that? Do I really want to continue pouring my emotions into whatever it is? That's 717. Because once you realize your connection with, living divinity, alive in the moment, God isn't something that stays at church, right? The creator is not something that stays at church. This is a force, a divine force that is omnipresent, right? Present in every moment. And if you could imagine present in the smallest part of creation in every moment, from the smallest to the largest, and we're a living part of that and made it. Yes, that's right. Hi, Adam. I'm so glad you can make it today. Okay, I might not get everyone while you're writing, but go ahead and comment, and I'll read through them later. If you have a question, you could put a big, just write question in caps or something, and we'll get to it at the end. So when you intentionally desire to connect with the soul, okay, so I'm using the same words for what I feel. I'm using different words for what I feel is the same energy, the same force that we can have a personal relationship with. So when we intend within and we go within, that means we put our focus on ourselves within. And what we'll do is we'll focus our breath into the heart, within the heart, okay? While we're breathing, breathe in and out through the heart. And that activates the connection with soul in a conscious way. A prayerful connection, meditative connection, and yes, a connection for working with energy, which we will do in a moment. Okay, so we're going to sit and breathe in and out of the heart, and then I'll do some talking along the way. And thank you for joining me here. Okay, so I'm going to ring the bell. And let's breathe. I breathe in. I breathe out. The bell is like the calling forth, right? The pure tone of your own true self. What you're connecting with is not separate from you. This is you. This is a part of who you are, the life force within, at the levels of the divinity that we don't normally in our day-to-day think of and experience, but yet we can call that into being during the day. So I want you to focus in the heart and call to mind a loving moment. That feels good. Call to mind the feeling of love. You can call to mind a scene from a movie that stirred you. And if you can't feel love in the moment, because there are many people who cannot, you can know that this feeling is possible. Just practice, and it will be there for you. Now, when I first started, I could only hold this love feeling for maybe 4 seconds. Yeah, I'm going to put that down now. I'm going to just bang it one time louder. So you can imagine as you breathe, you can imagine the energy pouring forth. Could you imagine it pouring forth out into the world? Yes, you could. But I have a suggestion for you. My suggestion is to imagine it filling you Okay, so let's not worry about the world right now. Let's not worry at all. That'll be part of what we can burn off. Let me use the word focus. Let's not focus on what's outside of the self. Let's focus on what's within. Why is that? Mr. Black, I'm glad that you love this format. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just, I loved how it went last time. So let's focus on within. And I want to address why these days, these moments that we are living in now, they're about role modeling. And what better way to become a role model than to practice it first within? To practice it first within. Now, here's the other reason, and it's about physics. The energy that you generate within yourself emanates outward. So you don't need to take care of the world. I mean, you can do what you wish, but God's got this. And when you generate that living flow within you, that conscious awareness, and you fill yourself with it, and you're just this big ball within of this loving energy of your own soul. Hmm. Doesn't that feel wonderful? It truly fills, it truly changes the state of being. So when you are that, others can perceive it and it role models for others. And I had the interesting experience of once again running into one of my neighbors who was really filled with anxiety yesterday. And I had a lot of compassion for her and I listened to her story. And this is what I did. This meditational state that I'm working through with you now to generate. I sat there and in this state of being, just loving myself, feeling the love of my own soul for me, and looking outward from that place. Right, yeah, it's almost like Buddha under the tree. If Buddha under the tree was to get up and then walk through town, right? Maintaining that state of being, what would that have been like for the people around him, right? So we can role model this. Now, I'm not comparing myself with Buddha, but I'm desiring to emulate a great master. It's the same thing that we say when we, say, "What would Jesus do?" It's the desire to emulate, a great master. It's a desire to emulate the Christ light, the Christed energy within, and to generate that within myself. Because all these things that I began at the beginning speaking about, the light of the soul, connecting with God in the heart, connecting with your own divinity, the divine force through you. All of this, in my view, is what is known as the Christed light. It's a state of being, of pure connection, one to one, in relationship with God, the soul, the living aspect of the Creator that you are, at the very level and frequency that you are in your truest state of being. Of course, if we were to become one to one with the pure state of the divine force itself, that would be quite something, right? I believe that the creator, that divinity, that our own soul essentially can work as a a step down transformer and a step up transformer for us. So our own soul, the life force that we are, can shift states with us so that as we practice, we learn to embody the highest levels, right? The highest levels of who we are. Okay, so let's breathe in. So call to mind the love. Feel this in your heart. Now we're going to imagine the state in a more visual way. And if you don't do visual imagining, you can use your emotions to imagine this. You can use your knowing. Knowing is a higher state than the mind, right? In the physical body. Knowing is a trust and acceptance of what is, what will be, and what can be, right? If we don't sense it in the moment, we know that it's there. So what I want you to think about, not to think about, what I want you to experience, what I suggest you experience while you breathe is this. Imagine that that love is a beautiful bright ball within the heart, fueled by the living soul. And as you breathe, you feel that ball glow. And if it feels comfortable, you can feel it growing and encompassing the whole space of your heart, filling into your human form, into the physical body, into the head, the throat, the chest, the arms, the hands. Light the flame in the palm. The flame in the heart, the ball of glowing, beautiful energy flowing into the abdomen from the chest and the heart, into the legs, and fill your body and imagine that your body is the container and it's filling and filling and filling. We don't need to imagine it flowing beyond that in the moment, but let's know that it's filling the energy field. And we can imagine the energy field as a sphere around us with a boundary, maintained by your higher soul level self, by your guardian angels of the highest light. I've already called in Archangel Michael before we started, the archangel of security, protection, and the embodiment of divine will. Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Uriel, Archangel Raphael. Always love to call in the angels to support me. And I invite you to call in the spiritual beings that you wish to support you. It's always nice to have a team, isn't it? Now imagine this love filling your entire field. As the love emanates from your heart, what is anxiety burns off. What is fear burns off. What is worry burns off. It as it burns, it moves to the edge of the boundary of your field and dissipates outward. Your pure energy stays within the field. And the idea here is to fill yourself up with more and more of who you truly are. And when you feel full, allow that to deepen within the self. So it's like this, in music, it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? Well, imagine those notes now at a more comprehensive level. Imagine that the love could have a richness, a fullness, a buttery warmth, a care for the truth of who you are. And we can enhance this by touching the physical form and acknowledging the love that you have for yourself in doing the breathing and the meditation. Mhm. Because sitting here, breathing, doing the work, because this is more than a basic Buddhist meditation. This is energy work, and this is truly a living prayer. Okay, so now I need someone to tell me that you can hear me. Can you hear me? Oopsie. Oh, great. Thank you. Now I don't have to type anymore. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Perfect. Here's what we're going to do. So I want to talk about the difference and the subtleties between prayer, meditation, and energy work. Essentially, what we're doing is a living prayer, right? Because this state we're achieving is a state of being that when you are in prayer and you're really grooving, where you feel like God is communing with you and you're receiving messages or whatever that experience is for you, that's that's the state that we are achieving in doing this. In meditation, we're achieving that, essentially that state of peace, state of calm in the energy field, that state of being where the mind is not generating thoughts, right? We're living the experience of the soul being in human form, right? We're focused on that by the breathing, by the allowing of the love, because that's what the soul feels like love for us. Um, and I want to mention energy work. What is that? If you go to Buddhist meditation training, which I did, okay, I was never interested in meditation, and of course, later on, I learned that I had been a Buddhist monk in the past. Of course, right? So when I went, you know, the basic teaching is always to put your thoughts outside of your energy field, to generate a calmness of mind. But what energy work is about, and it relates to both prayer and meditation, or however you, yeah, prayer and meditation. I want to stick with that, or light work. um, so what the difference is that when we do what I call energy work, what I'm calling energy work, I would call it similar to the work of a prayer warrior. I would call it directed energy, directed prayer, and I would call it a living active meditation. I remember doing this kind of work when I was a Buddhist monk. So I don't know why they didn't teach it in the lessons I went to. Maybe those were in the more advanced courses. I don't know. But but when I was a Buddhist monk, years ago, in a different lifetime, in a couple different lifetimes, I remember doing that in the 1900s. Both of them were in the 1900s. Um, hmm. So when we're doing energy work, what we're doing is we're taking the living flow, right, that we're generating within, the living love that we are, the force of the soul light, the force of divinity with which we are one to one. And then we are intending in the moment. And this comes from the mind. Okay. I'm sorry. It does not come, it comes from the mind. I just was reading and that came from the mind. It's a different dimensional state to be in the mind. The living flow comes See? Do you feel the shift when I shift back? I can speak from the from the state. The living flow comes when the mind is at ease, yet we're aware. And this is that knowing level. And you can also feel emotions in this state. So, what we have now is a fifth dimensional state of being. And from this fifth dimensional state of being in the living field, okay, in the living human, I'm a living human generating this. And so you can do it too. And there are many people who do it, who I meet often. But when we work with energy or direct energy, and I suggest simply doing this within self, unless you know how to do this, because many people have been born with the innate ability to do this now. And we just need to remember and wake up to it. Or some people already, they just know, it just turns on. So when we were taking the living light and directing it through the human form, okay, that is a type of energy work, and it's for the self with the self. But why not benefit your own human vessel? Because we need to care for this vessel, right? To be in the world. And this is what my energy talk is going to be on in a moment. I want to switch to that in a moment, but it's important to care for who you are. That includes understanding and knowing that I am worthy to connect with my own soul. My own soul wishes for that. And I believe the offer is always there. There's no judgment from the level of divinity that rests within the human self. And so overcoming these sort of inner obstacles and limitations is part of the work. And that's why I labeled the meditations for the spiritual warrior, because the spiritual warrior does the work at the level of the connection with divinity, with the divinity that you are. The spiritual warrior does the work to connect more, deeper, longer in every moment, every day. You know, that's possible because we are human beings. We have limitations. We have limitations of energy, time, focus, attention. We get into emotional states. We get into thought states. And so I hope that we've been going for less than 20 minutes, but I hope that generating this state with you and talking through the mechanisms has benefited you and helped you achieve a state of calm. And as I said at the beginning, the state of calm comes from the living flame. And you could also call it the living flame of the Holy Spirit. Ooh, that feels good. I don't know why that makes me laugh. I just see flames everywhere and they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful in my mind. Oh, okay. So thank you for doing the meditation with me. So I'm going to look at the comments really quick. We'll see if there's any Q&A about the meditation, and then I would love to share with you about the current energies because I've looked at the Schumann resonance and I've looked at the astrology chart for the new moon, which is in 2 days. And I thought we could talk about that. Actually, it's in 1 day for the West Coast. For the East Coast, it's in 2 days. Okay, so let me take a look. I'm going to go to the top here. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. Great. Thank you. Jen, thank you for being here since 2020. Star Angel, what a beautiful name. Romeo, thank you for being on my channel. And I know you've been here for a long time. Genevieve, Kylie, thank you for being here. I know that you've been here for a long time too. Dejan, message retracted. Christine. Okay, Edith. All right, so I don't see any questions, and yes, okay, so the new moon for the month was March 21st. So right now we're under the new moon energies. So let's talk about the energy now. Okay, let me bring up my chart. So first, I'll talk about the Schumann resonance. There's a reason why I wanted to use the bell at the beginning, and that is because if you look at today's Schumann resonance chart, and I'll put a link when I put this video out, I'll put a link below. But when you look at the Schumann resonance chart for today, you'll see on the first day, April 2nd, so that was Sunday, there's a clear line, right? It's a vertical line, mostly white resonance that comes through. And the amplitude in the white resonance was really elevated. And when I saw that, this is what I thought. I thought, you know what? This is a bell, this is a tone calling us to ourselves, right? Because the next thing that you see on the chart yesterday is what I've been calling the cloud. A big cloud of energy came and just settled in the chart. And it's interesting because the previous chart to this one, for the last several days, there's been a light up in this same area of white resonance. And I did my Substack article on it, and you might read the Substack to take a look at what I talked about with that cloud. Okay. So, what I talked about with the white resonance that it showed, I said humanity is making a comeback. And in the video, I talked about that we're on the verge of a comeback because I truly believe that we are, even though the energy looks so dark right now. And it's April 4, 744, as I say this. Okay. It's a seven surrounded by four fours. Um, and the news, the media information is so chaotic and intentionally with a tinge of the darkness, right? And stay in that state that we generated, right? Because I can observe it without shifting my state. And how do I do that? I observe the information. I continue to love myself. So if you weren't here for the meditation, you can go back, and I talked about at the beginning how to maintain that state of calm when you're faced with people who are anxious, and this applies to news who are anxious. Okay, but back to the Schumann resonance. This big cloud of energy appeared yesterday, and you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the Notre Dame fire in 2019. And so I ended up spending out a lot of time researching the Notre Dame fire again. Rather than talking about that, what I'd like to do is talk about the meaning for the current moment, because I believe there is a impression of that in the energetic state. Um, and the way that this cloud of energy was different in the Schumann resonance was that the previous few days, the white resonance that was occurring in the lower hertz from 15 to almost 0. Okay, so even in our unconscious, subconscious alpha brainwave state, low beta, so the thinking state, simple thought state, those level of hertz, which is the same level of hertz in the Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance has the same level of hertz as human brain waves. So those level of hertz were all lit up with white resonance. But today, or yesterday, what you saw was that this is shifted. We've still got the white in the unconscious and subconscious states and a little bit in the alpha, the waking state. But now the awake states of, higher alpha beta, and even starting to go into mid beta, filled with red lines. Okay, so those horizontal lines that have been appearing are filled with a red resonance. And so the energy meaning was different this time. And I think that there's an attempt to use our passion here. So we want to be careful of that, right? Because in the United States of America, today, April 4th, we have the indictment and arrest of a president of this country. It's unprecedented. And we could say disturbing, and it could be the cause of anxiety for a lot of people. So I feel what's happened, and it's reflected in the energy. There is an attempt to engage us and to use the human energy of passion in ways that direct our focus, direct our life force in ways that are not in alignment with our highest good, or even in alignment with the intentions we have as living souls in human form. We've still got the lighted up, right? Unconscious, subconscious, and into the waking state. And what does that mean? It means that there's a choice to be made, a choice of how will we use that passion? How will we use our life force? And on this morning's chart, just in the last few hours, so let me just look here. How many hours has it been? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm looking in the last 7 hours because the chart's between 20 and 2100 right now, or when I brought it up before I started the video. And what you have now is a lot of vertical lines going from 0 to 40 on the chart, so going the full length of the Schumann resonance chart. So the energy is going the full length of our brain waves, and we have a mini ladder appearing in the chart. So what is that? It's a image on the chart. Just there are repeating images, and it's the image of a ladder, and the lines across the two bars of vertical, I like to call them rods, when there's vertical lines on the chart from 0 to 40 hertz. The lines are in mostly hints of red resonance and dark red. Okay. Now, at the higher hertz levels, so related to human brain waves in the chart, that would be very high beta. So, our more complex thinking and our spiritual connections. Okay. There, the lines are in green. What does that mean? I think that number one, it means anxiety because when we get into the mid beta thought, mid beta hertz, brain wave hertz levels, you perceive all of this information, and the mind is trying to create a logical story. And when things don't make sense, because there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation in the world at the moment, there are a lot of things that are hard to understand. And so when that happens, the mind is attempting to connect ideas, connect observations to create a logical pattern. And when it cannot create a logical pattern, we have a choice, right? And I think sometimes those vertical rods of energy, they present a choice to us because the energy goes through the hertz levels in that moment in time. So if you can imagine in one moment in time, right, that this energy is available to the full range of your brain capability. That means it's available to all of us. It doesn't matter if you're unconscious because you're sleeping, because you're unconscious because you're not spiritually connected or turned away from God, if you're unconscious because a person's in a drugged out state. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're awake because you're coming into consciousness, because you're changing your life, you're enhancing your life, or because you're doing spiritual practices. That energy is available throughout that spectrum. And right now I'm talking about the Schumann resonance, vertical lines of energy throughout the Hertz ranges. And we're talking about the red lines and the dark lines of energy lit up in the ladder. So when things are happening in the outside world and we're having a tough time translating them into meaning easily, so then we can either choose fear, anxiety, passion that turns into anger. These are misuses of our emotional energy or uses out of unconsciousness. We don't realize why we're agitated or why we're angry. The other choice is to elevate, right? The other choice is to elevate like we did during the meditation, to allow the self to fill with soul, the light and connection. And I mentioned uplifting during the meditation and in my meditation description. This automatically uplifts our energies. And then we have a different choice on the ladder of possibilities. The other choice is, well, it's twofold. First, from a mind and emotional state, mental and emotional, we can choose to create a story that we're comfortable with, right? For whatever reason. We're comfortable with it, and it is the truth. We're comfortable with it. It's not the truth, but we believe it's the truth, so we're comfortable. You see how that works? Well, there's a third alternative, and that is to be in a fifth dimensional state of being about it, to be in a prayerful state of being about it, to be in a soul-connected state of being about it, to be in the state of the spiritual warrior, to be in the state of spiritual mastery, or to intend that. And in that state, we feel God's love for us. We feel the love of our own soul. We have that within the heart generated. We pour it into the body and feel, and we hold on to that. We be that. And when I say hold on, I'm having trouble explaining the words, but we experience it in more and more of a tangible way, whether that's the body warming, whether it's the sense of being loved, whether it's the literal emotion of love for our own selves, whether it's tears streaming down the eyes, the body feeling more comfortable, right? So it becomes more and more brought into the living state of being. And then we look at the news, and then we look at what's happening today, and we say, I'm comfy. So now let me talk about the astrology really quick. Let me just put my do not disturb on for another little bit, and then we'll finish up. Okay, I'm not going to be much longer um, because I want to do a separate video on this, but I want to share my observations about the full moon coming. So we're in the month that started March 21st. Okay, so it started with the sol the not the sol the equinox on, I believe it was the 20th, it might have been the 21st some places. And I'm gonna talk about an energy that is in every one of these charts. It's in the new moon chart. Then after the new moon, a couple days later, Pluto went into Aquarius for the first time in 225 years on March 23rd. This is all Pacific time. Now not today, on April 5th at 9:34 p.m. Pacific, so April 6th on the East Coast and in Europe and other countries, the full moon happens and peaks. And so the full moon is an evolution of these energies, right? It started actually in the equinox. We had the new moon, Pluto into Aquarius, and now the full moon. So now we're at the maturation. So the full moon is like, I like to think of it as a variance analysis. Like when I was in finance, a company would say, well, we're going to earn this much. And then at the end of the quarter, we'd look at what they said they would earn. And then we compared it. And then we would track to say, okay, that means the year is now they're now going to earn this much. So that's how it is energetically with the moon energy in a similar way. You start the month, with the new moon energy. During that first 2 weeks, sometimes important things happen like Pluto into Aquarius, very important. And then at the full moon, there's an adjustment. Okay, now for the rest of the month, this is gonna be highlighted or that. But what I wanna talk about is the end of victimhood, because it is what is prominent with Pluto into Aquarius. And that's why I wanted to focus on lifting ourselves up today in the meditation. The meditation I went through is core, in my view, to lifting ourselves out of victimhood. It requires deciding to choose self responsibility, self focus in a way that consciously chooses the higher road, the highest path, and to the extent possible. Maybe today my highest path is to make my bed and that's it. Maybe tomorrow my highest path is that I vacuum, tidy, and everything looks wonderful. I don't know what today's going to bring. Today it brought me completing a live stream with you. Um, so so it's a spectrum of capability, competence, and doingness because sometimes we just need to move energy. Yesterday I woke up with a headache, and I decided then that I wasn't going to put any pressure on myself. I was going to care for myself, connect with my living soul, and be that, feel that in every part of my body, including where the pain was, until I felt better. And I gave myself time. I didn't put any pressure on myself. Within a couple of hours, that had passed. Okay, so here's what I want to tell you about the new moon energies, which continues this theme of the month. The end of victimhood is the opportunity here. We have Pluto at 0 Aquarius. We have Sedna, an asteroid, at 29 degrees of Taurus. We have Ceres, the mother, okay, at 26 degrees of Virgo. Now, at the new moon, she was at 0 of Libra, and Pluto was at 29 Capricorn, and Sedna was at 28. Okay, so now Sedna's at 29, so that's a karmic it's a karmic number, it's the maturation of the energies. So that's powerful. It's also powerful because Alcyone, fixed star, is at 0 Gemini. So Sedna has moved into less than 1 degree from Alcyone, the main star of the Pleiades. Although we would love to see this bring harmony and understanding, like that song from the age of Aquarius. I gave my first live astrology talk on Sunday, and it was so amazing. And when I brought this up and I tried to sing Age of Aquarius, everybody in the room started singing. It was so amazing. And they all sang the first few lines of Age of Aquarius. I thought it was pretty cool. But that harmony and understanding, beauty and love abounding, or however the words go, it really doesn't look like that out in the world, does it? No, it doesn't. Little did we know. Little did they know. But here's the thing, underneath it all, I feel amazing. Since Pluto's moved into Aquarius this month, I have had a vision of opportunity, of possibility, and of something new, and that's when I started doing these live streams. I feel this connection with the truth of who I am more and more, and that it is possible to live our dreams in the world. And a key to that is to choose to rise out of victimhood. So Sedna is the wounded child who was thrown overboard by her father. But yet there is more to the story. So there's a great triangle in the chart right now between Pluto, Sedna, and the mother, Ceres. She is the earth mother who controls the seasons. She's the goddess of agriculture. She is the earth mother who, when Hades um, got got her daughter and took Persephone down to the underworld, Ceres went to the underworld to take her back, to go get her and bring her back up to the surface. So she lived the shadow experience. And you could say that that experience reflects the experience of going into our own shadow personality, finding the lost parts of our soul in the shadow and bringing those back up to become part of the whole of who we are again, the pure soul. And what is not of the pure soul burns off. In that process, that's Pluto. And rescuing the soul, the inner child, that's Sedna. Because what happens is Sedna drops to the depths of the ocean. And at the depths of the ocean, she stays, sometimes for thousands of years. And muses. And as she's down there, eventually you get bored of your story. You get bored of the sadness. You get bored of being a victim. You get bored of blaming it on everybody else, blaming it on your dad, blaming it on your mom. And you figure out that no one's going to lift you off the ocean unless you do it yourself, off the floor of the ocean. And to do it yourself, to lift off, what does that require? The inspiration and the hope that gives you that thought that you can lift yourself back up is the divine within you, is the living connection of the soul, which we just meditated with, which we just called into living being in the human body in our meditation. When that lights, that hope comes, that inspiration comes, it's like an idea has come to us suddenly. It's like a feeling, a sense, and we know somehow that all is well. And we use that lift to rise ourselves back up, right, from the depths. And we claim back the peace of our soul, right? It finds us. First, God finds us at the bottom of the ocean. And we find ourselves by making the choice to allow the connection with the creator, with divinity, with your own soul that allows us to rise back up. And that is when victimhood ends. As we're rising back up, we could choose to go back down. Every time you find the victim story coming out of your mouth now, every time you find it in your thoughts, I invite you to know that the energies support us with this triangle, this trine, lifting back up, because these are the energies present at the equinox. Okay, that's for the next 6 months. These are the energies present for the new moon. That's the current month through April 21st or April 20th. That's the energy for this new year month, because this month is considered the new year by certain ways of calculation. So this is sets the energy for the year. This is considered a start of the age of Aquarius. This is the start of a 20-year cycle. This is one of the most powerful times in our lives to be alive, okay? If you're alive now, what a gift. There have been human beings that waited for decades for this moment, that sang the songs. And that waited for 40 years, and I'm not one of them. But I'm very close with some of you, and I can I can feel that not everyone made it. Not everyone made it, but they knew it would come, and that's the power of knowing that we talked about in the meditation, and it's possible now to do it in this lifetime because we move past 2012, the end of the calendar, the end of the Mayan calendar for the dark energy, the end of the reign of darkness, 2012. That's why the world ended in 2012. The dark world ended, okay? And so now we're in this period where we get to recover ourselves. And that's what this, triangle means, right? It means the end of victimhood. And you see Pluto in a trine with Ceres and Sedna. We don't normally think of Pluto as a positive. And I was talking to a friend of mine um, last night when we ran into each other, and we're both energy healers, energy people. And I was saying to him, "Can you believe this? Like, I feel amazing, like, in my heart. We were told all this scary stuff about Pluto and Aquarius, and is there scary news? Yes, I admit it, okay? There's scary news. Just because there's a wonderful and beautiful seed of possibility doesn't mean that it's gonna be really hard as that seed cracks out of the shell, pushes through the dirt, comes out of the soil and raises its face to God, to the sun, right? The representation of the soul in the sky, the representation of the living flame of divinity in the sky. All right. So it doesn't mean that that connection with God or the feeling of that in your heart makes things easier. It doesn't mean that this trine immediately lifts us out of victimhood. We have to do the work of the spirit. This is the spiritual warrior's work. So I'll have another video on this, and this is what I really focused my talk on. And what I want to say to you is that in these energies, how do we know what the next step is? We know because we receive it in prayer. We know because we receive it in meditation. We know because we've done the energy work, the work of the spiritual warrior to connect within, get to that place of calm and stillness where the living flame of the living soul lights our way. Thank you, friends.